France hadn't conceded a single goal in 3 straight knockout games. Kylian Mbappé had 8 goals. Ousmane Dembélé had 5. Michael Olise had more assists than any player left in the tournament. On paper, this wasn't a semi-final. It was a coronation. And then Spain touched the ball 10 times inside the penalty area, and France's entire attack was reduced to 0.3 expected goals. That's not a bad night. That's a team getting dismantled in front of the whole world. So, what actually happened in Dallas? And why does the man who built this so-called unstoppable France side lose his job because of it? Let's break it all the way down. To really understand how big this result was, you have to go back and look at the road both of these teams walked to get here. Because on paper, this was never supposed to be close. France arrived at this World Cup as one of the favorites, and they played like it from the very first whistle. They topped their group, a group that included Senegal, Iraq, and Norway, and they did it with ease. Then came the knockout rounds, and this is where France really started to look terrifying. They beat Sweden. They beat Paraguay. They beat Morocco. 3 knockout matches, 3 clean sheets. No team could find a way through their defense, and at the other end, their attack was scoring at will. Kylian Mbappé was doing what Kylian Mbappé does, finding the net again and again. Ousmane Dembélé was right there with him. And then there was Michael Olise, quietly racking up more assists than anyone left in the entire tournament. Add in Désiré Doué and Bradley Barcola coming off the bench, and you had a France side with basically no weaknesses. Even an injury to a key midfielder in Aurélien Tchouameni barely slowed them down, because Adrien Rabiot and Manu Kone just stepped in and kept the engine running. By the time the semi-final rolled around, the story being told about France was simple. This team doesn't have a weakness. This team doesn't make mistakes. Now let's talk about Spain, because their road looked completely different, and honestly, a lot less impressive on the surface. Spain opened their tournament with a flat 0-0 draw against Cape Verde. Not exactly the statement you'd expect from a team many had ranked as the best in the world heading into this competition. They followed that up with a 4-0 win over Saudi Arabia, which looked more like it, and then a tighter 1-0 win over Uruguay. Solid, but not spectacular. Nobody was talking about Spain the way they were talking about France. But here's the stat that almost nobody was paying attention to. While everyone was obsessing over France's attack, Spain had quietly conceded only 1 single goal across 6 matches. 1 goal. That's it. Their path to the semi-final included battling past Portugal in the round of 16, grinding out a result against Belgium in the quarterfinal, thanks to a late goal from Mikel Merino, and doing it all while their defense barely gave up anything. So, here's where we are heading into the match. France, the tournament's most feared attacking machine, unbeaten, spotless defensively in the knockouts. Spain, a team that started slow, isn't getting nearly the same hype, but has been almost impossible to score against. Everyone watching this game expected fireworks from France's front four. Almost nobody was talking about what Spain's defense was actually capable of doing to them. There's also history here that made this matchup even bigger. The last time these two teams met in a major tournament, it was the Euro 2024 semifinal, and Spain won that one too, 2-1, with a young Lamine Yamal and Dani Olmo doing the damage. So, this wasn't just a World Cup semifinal. This was a rematch. France had a score to settle, and Spain had already shown they knew how to beat this exact opponent on the biggest stage. Now, let's get into what actually happened on the pitch in Dallas. The match kicks off at AT&T Stadium, and honestly, the first 20 minutes are tight, cagey, both teams probing, neither side wanting to make the first mistake. France's front four are getting a few early touches, but Spain's back line, built around a teenage Pau Cubarsí, isn't giving them a single clean look at goal. Then, in the 22nd minute, the moment that changes the entire game, Lamine Yamal gets on the ball down the right side, and Lucas Digne, trying to track him, brings him down inside the box. Penalty. No debate about it. Up steps Mikel Oyarzabal. Cool. Composed. He sends it low, and Mike Maignan has no chance. Spain, 1. France, 0. And just like that, the entire complexion of the match flips. France, the team that hadn't trailed once in the knockout stage, suddenly finds itself chasing the game against a defense that has been a brick wall all tournament. Through the rest of the first half, France tries to respond. Mbappé is getting touches, Dembélé is trying to create something out of nothing, but Spain's structure just will not break. There's a moment, in the 38th minute, where Spain almost extends the lead themselves. High press forces a France giveaway, and in a flash, it's Yamal and Dani Olmo, combining in tight spaces inside the box. Yamal slides a pass to Fabian Ruiz, who tries a near-post finish, but Dayot Upamecano gets enough of a block to keep it out. It's a warning sign, but somehow France survives it and goes into halftime only down 1. But here's the number that should have terrified every French fan watching. France had never won a World Cup match after trailing at halftime. Not once in the entire history of the tournament. 0 times. So Didier Deschamps knows exactly what's at stake walking into that locker room. He has to find a way to change the momentum. France comes out for the second half with a lineup change. Adrien Rabiot, who picked up an early yellow card and was living dangerously, gets pulled for Manu Koné. It's a defensive-minded swap, an attempt to control the midfield without risking a red card. For a while, it looks like it might actually work. France starts to get a bit more control, a bit more of the ball, pushing bodies forward, searching for the equalizer. Deschamps rolls the dice again in the 57th minute, bringing on Désiré Doué for Bradley Barcola, looking for a spark, looking for anything that can crack Spain open. 1 minute later, Spain answers in the most brutal way possible. 58th minute. Pedro Porro and Dani Olmo link up on a give-and-go down the right side. Quick, clinical, one touch after another, and Porro slides it past Maignan to make it 2-0. And just like that, the game is basically over. France still has time on the clock, still has world-class talent on the pitch, but you can feel the belief draining out of them. Spain's defense, and specifically that back line built around Cubarsí, Laporte, and Cucurella, simply refuses to give an inch. There's a moment later in the match where Yamal curls a shot into the net that looks like it might put the game completely out of reach, 3-0, but the offside flag comes up and wipes it out. It almost doesn't even matter at that point. The result already feels decided. The clock ticks down. France pushes bodies forward in increasingly desperate fashion. There's a minimum of 7 added minutes at the end, and even that isn't nearly enough time to find a way back into this game. The final whistle blows, and it's confirmed. Spain, 2. France, 0. Now let's talk about the numbers, because they tell an even more brutal story than the scoreline does. France's front four, the group that had terrorized every opponent they'd faced up to this point, combined for 10 total shots in this match. Only 3 of them actually tested the goalkeeper. Their total output, in terms of expected goals, was just 0.3. Not 3. 0.3. For a team with Mbappé, Dembélé, Olise, and Doué all on the pitch, that number is almost unthinkable. And here's the part that makes it even more impressive for Spain. This wasn't a defensive smash and grab where they parked the bus and hoped for the best. Spain also had 10 shots of their own. Possession was nearly even. 46% for France, 45% for Spain. This was not a team sitting back in fear. This was a team that matched France everywhere on the pitch and still found a way to be more clinical when it actually mattered. That's the real difference between a talented team and a team built specifically to win a tournament. Player ratings after the match tell the same story. Pedro Porro and Rodri both earned high marks for their performances, controlling the game from deep and contributing directly to the win. Meanwhile, on the other side, Mbappé, for all his talent, simply failed to make an impact on this particular night. When your best player can't find a way through, and the opposing 18-year-old center back doesn't put a foot wrong all game, that tells you everything about how the match actually played out. So now let's talk about what this result actually means, because this goes so far beyond one scoreline. Didier Deschamps has been the manager of the French national team for over a decade. He won the World Cup with this program back in 2018. He's taken France to back-to-back finals since then. This is a man with an incredible resume, arguably one of the most successful international managers of his generation, and his era just ended with this exact result. A shock semi-final defeat at a tournament where his team looked, for 6 straight matches, like the best in the world. There is now real serious conversation happening about whether Zinedine Zidane, a legend of French football in his own right, might be better placed to get more out of this insanely talented group of players going forward. And when you actually think about that, it's a stunning thing to consider. This French generation, with Mbappé, Dembélé, Doué, and Olise all in their prime, might genuinely be even more talented on paper than the group that won it all back in 2018. And it still wasn't enough to get past Spain. Because here's the lesson buried inside this result. Talent didn't lose this game for France. Structure did. Spain didn't have the flashiest individual names on that pitch in Dallas. What they had was a plan, a defensive identity built over years, and the discipline to execute that plan for a full 90 minutes without a single crack showing. That's the difference between a collection of great players and an actual team. So where does this leave us heading into the final? Spain is through. They're heading to MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, waiting to find out whether it's England or Argentina standing across from them in the final. And whichever team it is, they are going to be facing a defense that has now conceded only 1 goal across 7 matches at this tournament. One team left in this competition has arguably the best individual player in the world in Lionel Messi. The other has one of the most explosive, high-pressing attacking cores left in the field. Which one actually has what it takes to get past this Spanish wall? That's the exact question we're going to be answering in the next video, breaking down both possible finals and figuring out who actually has a real chance against a defense that has now dismantled 2 of the most feared attacking sides in the entire tournament. If this breakdown helped you understand exactly how this semifinal really played out, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now, because we are going to be covering every single step of this World Cup final all the way to the trophy. Drop a comment down below and let me know who you think wins it all, England or Argentina, and whether anyone can actually stop this Spain team. Give this video a like if you want to see more breakdowns just like this one, and I will see you in the next video.